why is it when I became, say, 42, 43, did I suddenly have to, I couldn't lose weight. I like gained it easily and then it took forever to come. I felt like I needed to be a scientist to get 1 pound off.
Yeah, I hear you. And I can only, not to complicate it or make anybody be like, I'm not Debbie Downer, but it doesn't get any easier, that whole weight loss thing, as you get older, because I'm older than you by a number of years. And one of the things that's true is that our metabolism does slow down. And when our hormones are in flux, it makes it harder for the body to stay stable, whether it's weight, cravings, sleep, we get all these crazy things happening. And so it's not our imagination. It really, truly is.
Welcome to the Rich, Fit, and Happy podcast. I'm Crystal O'Connor, where we want to take you from drab to fab in this beautiful life. Let's go. Hello, hello. It's Crystal O'Connor with Rich, Fit, and Happy podcast. And today I have a guest. I brought her on because I myself am 53. And boy, have things changed with regard to staying fit and trying to fit into the same size that I did easily in my 30s. It was easy to lose 5 pounds. It was so easy. I could do it in a day.
Yeah.
And all I had to do is go do a spin class, and it seemed like all the baby weight came off after I had my kids. It was just easy. And I couldn't figure out why some women in my family, they couldn't do it. So then I hit maybe early 40s and it became harder and harder. And it wasn't just the food that I had to change. It was what I did in the gym. It was a lot of things. So that's one of the reasons why I brought on Gregory Ann as a guest today. And we're going to talk about that because she has a business. She's a nutrition coach and a life coach, because the brain and the gut work together. We're going to talk about that. And she's going to give us some suggestions or what she knows about Alzheimer's, the brain. Because here's the thing, I want to stay looking great, but also feeling great. And I want my brain to be working because I've got grandkids on the way. My first grandson was born just the 12th, just this month. I'm a grandma.
Congratulations.
My daughter just chose to speed that whole process up, apparently, because she's only 24. And that's fine. I just wasn't expecting to be called grandma at such what I consider to be a young age. Gregory Ann, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you, Crystal. I appreciate you having me.
Yeah. Where should we start? What do you want to talk about first? Because I've got like all these questions, but I don't know where to start.
Oh, you can ask anything you want, but to your point about how things change, it's true. I say that midlife is like the Olympics of change, for midlife beyond, 48, 47, 45, for some women it's younger. And then even people say, well, once you're through menopause, then it's going to stabilize. I don't agree. We just constantly have to be adjusting how we do things.
Yeah. And, in business, it's like that, because business always changes. And boy, we're going through a huge change with AI coming on board, and how that's going to change everything. So yeah, just get used to it, because everything is kind of cyclical too, they say. So not to complicate it even more, I didn't mean to do that by saying that, but let's talk about why things get harder as we age. Like, why is it when I became, say, 42, 43, did I suddenly have to, I couldn't lose weight. I like gained it easily and then it took forever to come. I felt like I needed to be a scientist to get 1 pound off.
Yeah, I hear you. And I can only, not to complicate it or make anybody be like, I'm not Debbie Downer, but it doesn't get any easier, that whole weight loss thing, as you get older, because I'm older than you by a number of years. And one of the things that's true is that our metabolism does slow down. And when our hormones are in flux, it makes it harder for the body to stay stable, whether it's weight, cravings, sleep, we get all these crazy things happening. And so it's not our imagination. It really, truly is. And then, some people will poo-poo that and say, oh, that's not true. People get lazy or they get busy. They have their kids, you can't deny the physiology. And the physiology is such that it slows down. And sometimes we do too, maybe not in our 40s, but like 50, mid 50s. Some people just want to take it easy. They've worked hard. They've been running. They've had kids. They're just like done with taking that extra exercise class, right? So, but we have to kind of, like you said, your priority. You want to look good, feel good. You want your brain to be sharp. Well, those are priorities for you. So you're going to line up your habits behind your priorities, right?
Let's talk about those habits, can we? Like, what habits do I need to change? What do you feel like are the most important for women over 50? What habits are the most important to keep her energy up?
Number one, you have to listen to the body when it talks to you about how you're eating. That may sound crazy, but
No, it
something as
doesn't.
simple as indigestion, getting tired right after we eat, getting hungry right after within an
Heartburn, can I
hour.
throw that in there?
Which one?
Heartburn. I used to get that all the
Absolutely.
time. Yeah.
People say my body doesn't speak to me. Those are all, that's the language of the body, a symptom of something.
Constipation, which by the way, was
Constipation.
never, I don't know why so many women struggle with that. I don't, but what's that all about? Maybe you could share what all of those stomach things are affecting the brain too, right?
Absolutely. The heart, the brain, how our whatever hormones we have left are also affected. And one of the things that people have to realize, we're going to talk about Alzheimer's in a bit. Estrogen is the youthful hormone. It keeps us young. It's why we got breasts, because it created, said like cells go
Not everybody
proliferate.
says that. Not everybody says what you said, Gregory, because can I just call you Gregory or do you go by Gregory
Greg
Ann?
is fine. No, Greg
Okay.
is fine.
Okay. Because most people, I mean, I feel like everyone's just afraid of estrogen and they think that it's the cancer hormone. And I don't know why it's poo-pooed on so much. Tell us why.
There was a study called the Women's Health Initiative, I don't know how many years ago, but it was to test hormone replacement therapy. And it was flawed in many ways. Most of the participants were older, like over 60 and into their 70s, which is not a bad time to start hormone replacement, we know now. But many of them had problems already. They had heart disease, they had diabetes, they had things that were going to go awry if that kind of a drug would cause a problem, they were going to get it. And these drugs were not natural hormones. They were made in a lab, or they were using equine urine, horse urine. I'm sure some people have heard of that.
Yeah.
And these things are not things that the body is used to. And then some people got more heart disease, some people, very few, but it became the big headline, ended up having breast cancer. Not many more than would have, just because 1 out of 8 women gets breast cancer. They didn't take that into account. And so all of the headlines were like, it causes heart disease and breast cancer. We're going to throw it all away. We're going to take all of these women off their medication, which were helping some people feel better. And that's the lingering thing now. We equate a cancer gene with a cancer diagnosis. Estrogen is a cancer, because people that have breast cancer have an estrogen dependent kind of cancer or non, right? That's estrogen creates proliferation of cells and grows tissue. So naturally, if some women have the cancer gene, but it's never one gene, genes that cause cancer in their body, their cells are going to proliferate if it's estrogen dependent. But not everybody. We all have a BRCA gene who is a female because we have breasts. We came with a BRCA gene. Doesn't mean it's going to turn into cancer. So like so much else in conventional wisdom medicine these days, there's old news and then there's new science. And not all the new science gets its proper spotlight.
It's being suppressed, right?
Yes. Yes.
I feel like that it is. Okay, so it's almost like I feel like sometimes if it is suppressed or I hear something new and people are like, it's not popular, it's because it's true. I feel that. I'm starting to feel that more and more. So tell me about estrogen. Like, let's talk about estrogen and how it is actually the youthful hormone and how it tends to drop off and how can we like raise it? Because I hear about estrogen dominance so much that I thought that was the problem.
So I had estrogen dominance. I didn't know that that's what it was when I was having horrendous periods and bleeding and finally had my uterus taken out because I was like, I can't do this anymore because of fibroids. That's an estrogen dominant problem, right? But as our estrogen declines, it creates another set of problems, which is since the brain, the heart, the bones, everything depends on every cell in the body likes estrogen. So all of those things that are estrogen dependent are suddenly starving, screaming, the estrogen is going down, we don't have any, we have very little in our body. One of the reasons that we gain weight is because fat is a natural source of estrogen in the body, and the body knows it likes estrogen. So what's it going to do? It's going to create a little factory of its own to make back some of that estrogen. So one way that you can replenish estrogen or raise your estrogen level is by using bioidentical hormone replacement therapy. I'm not saying that's the answer for everyone, but it did me a world of good. And there are so many studies about the safety and efficacy now. If you have the right doctor who understands the protocol, you're given a transdermal prescription rather than taking a pill. That's the safest way because it doesn't have to go through the liver. But if all these things were helped in our 20s and 30s by the abundant estrogen supply we had, and then suddenly estrogen falls off the map, you would imagine that if you could put it back, you'd start to feel more youthful, have a better, because a lot of people complain about brain fog. Bioidentical hormone therapy is one of the fastest things to get your brain back to sort of like, wow, I feel like myself.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
I've heard this. Okay. I'm not taking it right now, but you got me interested. And I have in the past, and I didn't, yeah, I won't get into that. I need to find the right doctor. So you said the key words, find the right doctor that really knows what they're doing. And it's so confusing because I think that anyone with a medical license tries to act like they know what they're talking about or what they're doing. But I've heard from people and doctors that go to conferences, they go to conferences and there's a lot, even in the conferences, there's a lot of different opinions and they don't really know what they're doing. And it's almost like they're using some of their patients as a guinea pig. Do you feel like that?
I would hate to, I'm sure that it's true. I guess I've been lucky, but my brand of rebellious wellness, one of the things, why rebellious wellness? Because I think it's an act of rebellion to do as much on your behalf to get the treatment you want, to decline treatment you don't want or medication you don't want, to find the right doctors. And I've always been this way. So I guess, and I've stopped working with doctors because they were sort of going, well, you know, it's a throwaway. Let me give you this and you'll feel better. I don't want that to make me feel better. I want to find out what the problem is, right?
How do you, okay, so now maybe I might be a little confused or I just need a little bit of clarity. How then are you able to get your bioidentical hormones if you're not going to doctors?
No, I didn't mean to say I'm not going. I have in the past said no to doctors who were just going to throw like, oh, we'll give you some estrogen and it's a pill and you'll be fine, you know, or you should have a testosterone pellet inserted into your butt. I'm like, you know, you're not the doctor for me.
Yeah.
So I do.
Okay, so
I do
you don't
have a
believe in those?
fabulous doctor. I don't believe in them for me. That's my caveat. There's something works for different people in different ways. The thing I don't like about a pellet is that once it's in, if it's too much, it's staying in there.
By the way, audience, that don't, it doesn't actually go in your butt. It goes in your muscle, you know, it's inserted in your skin, right?
But it's still inserted in, as in if it's too much for you, they have to then go sort of like pull it out with a knife.
Yes.
They get to dig it out. So I just didn't want to have that experience.
So you felt like it was too much. And by the way, isn't that testosterone?
I did say testosterone. I thought maybe I didn't. Yeah.
No, it's okay. I just want to clarify it for myself and for anyone. So what symptoms were you having that made you think it was too much?
I didn't have the testosterone way back. So the first time I took bioidenticals, I was about 47 and I was going through all the symptoms, hot flashes, not sleeping, cranky, couldn't think. I was like you, always running a business because I've been an entrepreneur forever. I was engaged to be married to a guy that was younger than me. So every time he touched me and I was hot, I'd be like, don't touch me. I was like, oh no, this cannot stand. We must do something immediately. So luckily I had a doctor who was a functional medicine doc. And I went and I said, here are the problems. And he said, okay, are you willing to try this? So I researched it because first of all, I tried everything natural, black cohosh, red raspberry, progesterone cream from banana leaves, whatever. And I wasn't getting any results. So my research said that there were lots of things that said it was safe. So I said, okay, I'll try it. And he gave me a little, and it was a cream, a little estrogen, and I probably had progesterone mixed in because you sort of want to balance those. And at first it was too much. And I was like feeling better, but I was really kind of groggy, sleepy. So we lowered it down again. And then all of a sudden I was like back to my old happy self. And it's been like that forever. Like since then, I have just been on various doses. I only started using testosterone about a year and a half ago because I found like my energy was, I couldn't work out to the level that I like to. And I get it. As you get older, sometimes you have to back off of some of the stuff you like, but I wasn't ready to. So I went to my now doctor. I've moved since that first doc. And I said, what do you think? And he said, you have no testosterone. Look at your blood work. There's none. I think it would help. And I was a little afraid because I've heard stories, you know, your voice is going to deepen, you're going to get facial hair, or you could cause cancer. But again, I went to the books, I went to, you know, Google Scholar and +1, and I found a lot of research that said it's safe. And I have a little bit of testosterone now in my prescription, and I feel like myself again at this age. Myself is not the same self as I was at 47, but myself that I like to feel.
And you feel like that was the estrogen was the missing component.
Originally, estrogen was definitely what was. And that, again, the perimenopause, you're going up and down and up and down. All it did was sort of balance out that fluctuation, which is what causes, for many women, it's interesting to me that some women have no symptoms. I envy them. I had all the
Well,
symptoms.
well, let's look at that. Okay, so you help with diet too. How much does diet help and how?
So diet definitely helps balance the body's hormones. Everything we eat, everything we think creates a cascade of hormones, neurotransmitters and hormones in the body. So I definitely had to look at what I was eating, what time I stopped eating. I was a chef for years. I didn't get done work till 9, 10, 11 o'clock. I might have had dinner at 10. I stayed up and had wine till 1. Then I got up and did it all over again. And suddenly that was not a plan for health. So I definitely did. But again, like I said, I tried all the natural things first, no salt and taking out dairy. And it really wasn't, first of all, I didn't want to change my lifestyle such that I was hating life, right? I like food and I like to enjoy it, but it didn't change. No salt, no dairy, no wheat. That didn't change any of my symptoms. So I thought, okay, that's not where the root of this problem is. It truly is going to take more than just this. For some people, it will be the magic bullet. They can change their lifestyle and they'll be great again. Or they'll just going to tough it out through the symptoms into menopause and then sort of decline from there. I don't mean to be mean, but if you have more estrogen in your body, even after menopause, you'll do better than people that don't in terms of feeling good.
Yeah. Okay, so what is your program like? Tell me about what you have to offer and your website.
Yeah, so the website is Rebellious Wellness Over 50. And the way I work with people is first I do an assessment to find out, you're like in the mall and it's like the you are here and then there's all the stores. So you can find out how to get to where you want to go. A lot of women that come to me say, I don't know whether I'm doing enough, or I kind of think I'm doing right by my body, but I'm not really sure. So then we have to ask the questions beyond that. What do you do every day? How do you sleep? How do you eat? How do you feel after you eat? There's a whole, it's like you, Crystal, with a business. You're going to find out what the person wants from their business, where they are now, how they feel, and what's the gap? How are we going to fill that gap? Well, mostly there's more questions to be asked. And then my power of 5, it's basically, we're going to work on your sleep, make sure you get enough protein, make sure you fall in love with fat, because fat is the long, slow burn energy food that we need. And mindset is huge, and balancing your blood sugar. I'm sure lots of people listening have heard this. It's critically important. And that goes back to our conversation about listening to your body after you eat. If you're tired after you eat, if you're craving within an hour after you eat, there's something going on with your blood sugar. It goes up when we eat naturally, but then in an hour, in 90 minutes, 2 hours, it should come back down to what's baseline healthy for you. If it doesn't do that and it stays high and then it crashes, that's why people get like a low, all of a sudden they want to take a nap feeling. So it's important. And you mentioned you felt like you had to have a science degree. Balancing your blood sugar sounds like you need all this chemistry in your head. You don't. You just have to listen to your body and think about the food you're putting in. Have a little understanding about what kind of food you eat. Do they cause a big spike in blood sugar, or are they pretty benign? Which is why I love protein and fat, because they are not blood sugar raising elements of our diet. Mm-hmm. And it doesn't matter whether you're vegan or keto, or it doesn't matter. It's still the same principles. And so those are the 5 things we work on. And again, if somebody says, well, this is one thing that I might be different. If somebody comes to me and says, I really need to lose 30 pounds and I want to do it in 3 months because my daughter's getting married. For me, that's sort of an impossible situation, especially for women over 50, because our emotional attachment to the date does not necessarily translate into our body's respect of time. It takes us longer, as you said, to lose weight than it did when we were younger. We say 3 months, 30 pounds. That sounds doable, but what if it isn't? So let's tie your feeling of success to something else, to your actions, to your new habits, to how you're feeling. Get a different size dress if you don't get the 30 pounds off, but don't be attached to that number, because more stress equals more problems.
Mm-hmm. Okay, that's interesting. Like maybe get a dress try on a lot of them and find one that actually looks good, makes you feel better. And then that will maybe dissipate some of the urgency. Like, oh my God, this has to happen, because then we sabotage ourselves, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay. So do you help with telling them what to eat in the program?
I don't like to tell people what to eat. Yes, there are categories, but what to eat if a person feels like I can't get to the store today, or I don't really like that food, I'm setting somebody up for more stress. But what I will say is, if you're an omnivore, then here are some proteins you can choose throughout the day. I really don't know how to keep a vegan healthy. I'll be perfectly honest with you, because
I
it's so,
just had this conversation with my daughter. I have two daughters, but one, she doesn't like protein. I said, honey, you have to have protein.
yeah,
So what do you
yes.
tell someone like that?
Generally, I just tell them right up front when we're having our conversation before somebody, I don't offer everybody, probably like you, who says, I'd like to work with you. Okay, let's discover whether that's the right next step for you.
Mm-hmm.
I may not be the right coach. So I'll tell people that. And if they're a vegan, honestly, and I have nothing against veganism, I just don't know how to require or to encourage people to get the right amounts of the kinds of foods you need to get all the amino acids and yada, yada.
Okay. So yeah, so it's about minerals and amino acids and vitamins too, but they really do best when they're coming from food, right?
Oh, yeah.
So it affects their blood sugar, doesn't it? When a vegan is not getting enough protein, their blood sugar is a little wonky. Is that right?
I wouldn't say that the protein is part of the blood sugar wonky equation, but if they aren't, so if the body isn't getting what it needs, it gets into a stress situation. It could get it into an inflammation situation. Those things relate to higher blood sugar. Plus, many vegans eat lots of beans and legumes, pasta, things like that, which are naturally high in some complex carbohydrates, some not so, which could lead to a sustained higher blood sugar level. But again, when people are young, the body is more forgiving. And I know lots of recovered vegans, they will call themselves that, who just woke up one day and didn't feel well in their 40s and 50s, didn't have the energy they used to have, had a pallor to their skin that they didn't like. And just adding back a little bit of fish, my sister's an example, a little bit of fish or a bite of chicken and egg here and there really made a big difference. Yogurt, it doesn't even have to be animal protein, just some source of nutrition that has more of them.
So macros, do you have them pay attention to macros? Is it something you talk about?
I'm a keep it as simple as possible kind of person. If somebody really has never been a vegetable fan, then I'm going to suggest that we make, that part of our nutrition, that's going to be a big part of your lifestyle change. And maybe there are certain macronutrients in that vegetable world that I can suggest that they'll get down more easily than, eat a huge bowl of leafy greens. Let's drill it down and see. Maybe it's taking some seaweed tablets. There are lots of ways to get where people want to go. And it's like fat,
seaweed
protein,
tablets. That's interesting.
Green Life. Yeah. I mean, there are lots of great products. Organic, you want to get them organic.
So it sounds like you've got a lot of little hidden gems and some tools and high value in your program, because there are little things like that that I've learned. When I say like that, I don't do the seaweed, but I'm not interested. Like little things like magnesium that I introduced into my diet changed my life because I could sleep better. It stopped the heart palpitations. My hands would go numb. It stopped that. Like there's so many things that you could add, just little things that make a huge difference. And what happened with me was that and a couple of other little things like that I added that made huge changes led me to become just even more curious. Like I'm always digging for information because I want to feel and look my best for as long as possible. And you can, it sounds like, right? You can.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, if I were to get close up to the camera right now, would I be horrified by the wrinkles around my lips because I smoked? Yes. But guess what? Overall, I think for me at this age, I feel like I'm looking pretty good because I look healthy. That's what good equals to me now. It doesn't, it's not like
you don't smoke anymore though, right?
Oh, heavens, no, I haven't.
I wouldn't think that you'd be a nutritionist and talking about fit over 50.
No, heavens.
But you know what? I think that you admitting that you did at one time and now you don't, and how you overcame that adds even more value to your program because people want to know how you did it. I had a grandmother I had one that lived to be 99 and a half. So she just passed away recently, a couple of years ago. And then I had one that died at 56.
Oh.
And she smoked. Yeah. I think she was really, just little stories I hear. I think she's really mineral deficient too. So isn't that just so drastic? So one lived almost double the amount of time.
Yeah.
She had double the life. That's amazing to me.
It is,
and one looked a lot younger. So the 99 and a half, she looked, I would say 15 to 20 years younger. And she always did. It was wild. People would mention it. And so some of it was genetic, but she also never smoked.
Yeah.
She just didn't smoke. She didn't do some of those things. So Gregory, I want to say thank you. And in the show notes, for those watching or listening, in the show notes, I'm going to have some links in there to find Gregory Ann. And then do you want to finish up with anything as we?
I want to just throw a new tool in my toolbox, and it's the cutting edge of leading edge, whatever cliche you want to throw at it. And that is genetic testing from a reputable company, but only a company, I have my favorite, that takes into account your biochemistry, what is actually going on in your body, on top of the genetic blueprint that we are. Why one grandmother lived so long, the other woman had a susceptibility to smoking as her demise, and the other didn't smoke, so she didn't have that in there, but she may have had a gene for addiction. It just never came into her lifestyle as a problem, right? When you talk about macronutrients, some people do really well with something like turmeric. Everybody should take turmeric for inflammation. In certain people, turmeric would be a death knell. It would cause more joint pain than the reverse. So anyway, it's my new latest thing. I'm really excited about it. And the company that I use, they have great.
So you offer that as a service?
I don't do it at all. I just recommend this one company because I've done research on all the companies, and these guys they're ethical. They don't share your information, and they give you the most information with specific targeted to your biochemistry, which is the different piece, not just your genetic blueprint, but what's actually causing problems within the body.
I just remembered, it just hit me. We didn't talk about Alzheimer's. So we're going to end after this. So can we touch on that? I don't know why I forgot, even though that was one of the things I wanted to talk about.
It's okay. And if somebody wants to know the in-depth, I did a 2-part report on women and Alzheimer's on my blog, which is on the website. Basically, it comes down to one of the main problems with Alzheimer's, and more women to the tune of 2 to 1 than men suffer from Alzheimer's. It is directly linked to estrogen depletion and diet and lifestyle. Inflammation and high blood sugar combined with a lack of estrogen, combined with not enough movement, but estrogen is just one of those 3 or 4 components that really make us more susceptible than just the odds.
Wow. Okay, so do you think that the lack of estrogen and not feeling well can lead to bad behaviors and bad habits?
Yes, if we don't feel well, we're not going to do
That's that cyclical thing I was talking about right there, I think.
Yes.
So yeah, so estrogen can make you want to get up and do things and make it a little bit easier so that you're not like fighting to do it, and lead you to want to make better choices, it sounds like.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yes. Again, it's one of the pieces, right? I don't want to put it as the piece.
Yeah.
But one thing leads, like if you don't get enough sleep, you don't want to exercise, if you don't exercise, right? But then throw estrogen into it and it all sort of becomes a little bit easier.
So that is linked to Alzheimer's. And probably, what's the other one? Dementia.
Blood sugar, inflammation. Oh, dementia. Yeah.
I really don't know the differences in symptoms. They are different because they have a different name. But do you feel like that is also linked to estrogen?
It is. And again, we have the genetic component, the many genes that figure into these things. If anybody's interested, there's a great book called The XX Brain, the Female Brain, by a doctor who's a researcher at Weill Cornell in New York City. I think she's been studying this for 15 years. The connection to women's brains and dementia and Alzheimer's and all its variations. Very interesting book.
Thank you for sharing that. That's so valuable. And I just coincidentally and sadly, I have an aunt that's only in her mid 60s she's actually not blood. She married into the family, but she is in her 60s and has pretty much full on dementia.
That is really
It's so sad to watch. I worry about her every day. And, conversations, I love talking to her because she's fun to talk to, but there is a loop going on and she forgets so many things that I just told her, that I can see how isolating it could be because not everybody's patient enough to deal with it. They don't know how, and it's just heartbreaking. Anyway, not to leave on a sad note, but it sounds like this book, and then you can help with all of that.
I certainly try.
Okay. Thank you so much, Gregory Ann, for joining us and sharing what you know.
Thanks for your show, Crystal.
Okay. Bye-bye, everyone.